your resume will not land you a brand new job. Now, at the end of this video, I'm not promoting a course that you can buy of mine for $5,000 or anything like that. No, I probably don't have as much hope and optimism, and I definitely can't bundle it up into a package and make a fair living off of that, no. But what I'm trying to tell you in today's episode is that your current resume certainly will not land you a brand new job. That's because you're probably in one of three buckets. You have too little of experience, your experience is actually pretty good, or you have too much experience. So let's go to the too little experience bucket. You have a resume and okay, you have everything that you've done on it. Unfortunately, if you want to be in management, you're not going to have the 5-10 years that someone's looking for. So you don't have enough experience for that. And maybe if you want to be a senior level developer, project manager, whatever, you probably don't have enough for that either. So what if you don't really have any experience? Well, then you're not going to land a brand new job. This is when you have to choose where your ethics lie and what's more important to you, being 100% honest on your job application or, not starving to death, because sometimes you got to make a pretty rough choice here. Because if you're completely honest on your resume and you don't have a lot of experience, say you're only a couple of years out of college, you're not going to land anything, not in today's job market. So that's when you have to get creative. What did you do that you can put on your resume? What metrics and statistics do you have? And maybe you have a pretty good summer internship. Well, you really need to doll that thing up like you were just one of the most important people, like you were the future of the industry and you spent the whole summer really learning from the best and the brightest on Wall Street or something like that, because you got to do something to make your lack of experience really stand out. If you did any volunteer work, figure out a way to put that on your resume so that you can show that you've led initiatives. Did you have any sort of hobbies, or you go to any coding camps or participate in anything of that nature that you can put onto your resume? Because you can show, hey, I built this thing, pretty successful, led this team to make sure that we delivered everything on time. You're really gonna have to think outside the box if you don't actually have the proper resume experience to put on that, because too little history, too little experience is not gonna get you anywhere. Now let's look at if you are just right, if you will, Goldilocks style. You have all the experience. But now we're seeing that maybe 5 years after the peak of what we could have made, also remotely, not having to go into the office every day, the jobs might be there. They might be there, but the salaries sure aren't. I've heard from a few of you guys just in the comment section that, yeah, you can get a job offer for a similar job that you've had for the past 5, 10, 15 years. But now all of a sudden the salary has gone down greatly. And it's not like the company is making any less money. It's not like the CEOs are going to take public transportation to work as opposed to their private jets. No, there's plenty of money in the corporation. It's just, it ain't going to you. So you have all the experience lined up, but all you're doing now is just getting lowballed. You can probably live off of this salary that they're offering you, but it's just ridiculous how the mighty have fallen to no fault of your own. And you could say that there was overhiring. Okay, maybe. But what does it have to do with you who has had a job for more than 3 or 4 years? Remember, you're not one of the people who has too little experience. You were working before the pandemic, making a good amount of money, through the pandemic, making a good amount of money. Now the past 2 to 3 years, now something has happened, and surprisingly, if you can't get a job, you're taking quite a haircut, like this kind of haircut. And then there's a third level where you have so much experience and you might have 20 years of experience. You might just need to keep working for another 5, 10 years until retirement. You've proved everything. You may be past your working prime. you probably don't give as many F's about what goes on in the day-to-day experience, but you are a trusted leader. You have plenty of experience. You've been through integrations and migrations and different companies. You've worked at startups and medium-sized companies and even maybe a FANG company or two. You have all the experience. You are what we are looking for as far as someone who is a true rock star in the industry. Unfortunately, you think the people who had just the right amount of experience were getting lowballed. Now you are completely getting lowballed, or really, realistically, not getting a job offer at all. And we can call that age discrimination. We can call that whatever we want to. All we know is the CEOs of these major companies want to outsource as many jobs as possible. So if they're going to hire someone, they're going to probably go with building a brand new team in India or Mexico or the Philippines, or they're going to go with someone who realistically has too little experience, but they've done a good enough job on the resume, either just being crafty or using ChatGPT to convince the hiring managers that they're a good fit at a heck of a price. So if the people who are just right for the roles aren't getting it because they're getting lowballed, I mean, you're probably not even a competitive salary, which is fine in a vacuum. You could say like, oh, well, you're gonna have to take pay cuts and sometimes, but if you're that advanced in your career, hopefully, God willing, you have a house, you have a family, you have all these things that depend on you. So you can't just suddenly take a 50% haircut out of nowhere because then you just can't pay your bills. And having worked in corporate America for 20, 30 years, you should not have to take such a pay cut in this job market that you can't keep the roof over your head and now all of a sudden you're out of a house. That's unreasonable. And that's if you even get an offer at all. But if people are looking at your resume and you haven't tailored it for the realities of age discrimination and all of the various problems in the 2025 job market, then you're probably not going to get a call at all. If you have the college that you graduated from and it's too long ago, obviously they can tell how old you are and you're not going to make the cut. If you have actually put all 15, 20 years of your experience, they're going to know that you come at too high of a price, or they're not going to pay you, or they just want a youth movement. Whatever their reason is, you're not going to even get a phone call. If you have your master's, or maybe you have a PhD, they're going to know you're way too expensive and they're not going to continue you in the process. So your resume as it is now in 2025 is probably not going to land you a brand new job. Because if you really don't have a lot of experience, but hey, you can go in at a really low price for the employer, you're still going to have to beef up that thing, fudge the numbers a little bit to be able to get that elusive job. If you are just right, you're gonna have to figure out how to make cuts, how to live well below what you were making 5 years ago a lot of the times, because you're not going to unfortunately get that job making $150,000 working remotely those days. For the most part, from what I'm seeing in my personal experience, talking to you guys and scouring LinkedIn each and every day, those days are also long gone. And then if you have too much experience, or if you have a master's degree or like a PMP or other kind of professional certification that really should show that you know what you're doing, that you deliver quality, that you're someone who has been through it all, seen it all, and done it all. Unfortunately, that is not rewarded, that is not appreciated, and that will not be entering a brand new company in 2025. But let's see what someone else has to say. Today we go to Krista on LinkedIn, who says, I went to a mandatory #unemployment workshop this week and was told to do the following. Number 1, dumb down my resume. Number 2, don't be too impressive in #interviews. After my layoff almost 6 months ago, I'm still waiting to receive my full unemployment benefits. First, there was fraud alert on my account. Then it took them months to verify that I was a remote employee working from my home in Maryland. Now my benefits are on hold again, because while I was waiting, I had to take a small withdrawal from my 401k just to survive. Then I got a notice that I had to attend a mandatory unemployment workshop. I sat through the least helpful 2 hours imaginable, where I witnessed 3 forms of discrimination: ageism, sexism, and outright mocking of another attendee. Gross. So here we have Krista, who is chief of staff. So not necessarily human relations, not communication major necessarily, and not the project manager that you guys have no love or appreciation for. We got a nice chief of staff. She's done things, she's seen things. And she went to an unemployment workshop, and the first piece of advice was to dumb down the resume, because you can't be too impressive, because they don't want impressive people. These companies are not worried about how can we make a good piece of software. I mean, I usually go with the example of go to your favorite app or website and that you've been on for a while and tell me it's as good as it was 5 years ago. It just isn't, because these companies don't care. But it seems like that is a new American way, to just do the bare minimum. I mean, even look at our fast food restaurants, right? I mean, the chicken is dried out. It's all $10, $12 for a basic sandwich that's not even good, that probably wouldn't pass health codes in other countries. Everyone is really just doing the bare minimum or less. It's just really sad that we don't have a whole lot of pride in our quality and pride in our work when it comes to corporate America these days. But that's a rant for another day. And Krista was laid off almost 6 months ago. And in order to fulfill her unemployment requirements to get all of her benefits, she needs to do certain things. And she's already experienced fraud. Then she had to verify that she was working remotely in Maryland. These people in unemployment were like, nobody's working remotely. What are you doing over there in Maryland? And then her benefits are on hold again. And we've gone over this a couple of times, where people have to withdraw from their 401k. Now, nobody is withdrawing from their 401k if they have plenty of money. If they got 20, 30,000 in the bank, if they still have plenty of credit card room, no. This is a last ditch effort. This is, everything else has been exhausted. All I have left is to touch my 401k, because there's limits to what you can put in. There's a penalty when you take it out a lot of times. And this is not something someone's just doing for funsies. This is really serious business. And let's see what she has to say as far as the 2 hours being unhelpful and experiencing multiple forms of discrimination. Thankfully, I was one of the first in the group to meet with a workforce specialist. I told them the truth about my job search. It's been months of showing up, doing the work, and being met with silence and rejection over and over again. Their advice? Dumb down my resume. Apparently, it looks too good, and I was told I'll never get hired if I seem that competent. Oh, and in interviews, I should try not to sound as smart or as amazing as I actually am. It's taken me a few days to process that. My whole life, I've shrunk myself to fit in. I stayed quiet so no one would notice me. And after all these years, I finally stepped into who I really am, an incredible human who's really good at her job. And I refuse to make myself small again. So folks, check on your unemployed friends. We are not okay. Seems insane, right? We are pushed from basically being kids the way of the world, at least in the West, at least in the USA. Because when we're kids, we're doing, projects, we're working with others, we're basically being groomed to go to college. What do you want to go to college for? What do you want to do? I mean, when you are little, not like, what are your dreams? What interests you? What excites you? No. What college do you want to go to? What do you want to be when you grow up? And yeah, for a little bit of time, you can have fun. You could say, I want to be an astronaut, or I guess you could really be a firefighter, but an astronaut, a policeman, you probably won't end up being those things, but they're fun. But way too early in your life, it's like, oh, you got to get serious, because if you don't go to a good college and get a good degree, you won't get a good job. If you don't get a good job, your life is over. We are being forced this whole plan, this whole trajectory. And now, okay, we go to college. Maybe get a job for a little bit. But the people who have graduated recently, they're not in the same boat. They can't get a job, even though they went to college. The younger generation is doing their part. They're trying to do the right thing, work hard, go to college, and try to get a job, and they got nothing. At least For us who are a little bit older, we have a little bit of experience at least, or 5 or 10, 15 years. But if you've just graduated in the last couple of years, you can't get any experience at all, because these companies want you to have at least a couple years of experience, maybe 5 years of experience for an entry-level job, knowing that you still can't have 15 or 20 years. Maybe you can have 5 to 10 years. Because if you have less than 5, you're not going to get a new job because you don't have enough experience. If you have more than 10, you're not going to get a new job because they're going to see you as someone who's going to demand too high of a salary. And at the lowball salary that they're offering these days, they know that you are going to take the first real serious salary you can get, and you're not going to be done applying for jobs because they haven't given you an offer that is too good to refuse. So it's a shame that you can work so hard, fight so hard to battle the demons and the voices in your head that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough. You finally get to a certain level, you're starting to feel good about yourself. Your mental health is checking out, everything is looking good, and now you're in a job search and you're told, no, dumb it down. You're too impressive. We don't care that you spend 5 to 7 years getting educated. We don't care about your fight of clawing and scratching to rise up the ranks in corporate America. None of that matters. Pretend like you don't have any education. Pretend like you're a dummy, and then maybe we'll give you a brand new job. How exciting. Today we also have a little bit of viewer mail, if you will. We start with this first poster who shares, years ago when I first applied to Macy's, the manager said he was not supposed to hire me because I have a degree, and we always view that as you will leave right away to a higher paying job. Having an education actually hurts you when applying to jobs when they know that they are underpaying you. They think you know that and will leave to somewhere else in 30 days. And here is proof of what we've been talking about. These companies know that they're not paying a fair salary for what they're asking. These companies know that they're not paying you enough to have a good life, right? The whole, your manager or your boss will never pay you enough to be their neighbor. They know these kind of things. So they're just trying to find people who are not as talented, not as qualified. And that's why we get the customer service and the experience that we get when we go into certain stores, because they're not hiring anyone who's remarkably exceptional. And if they were to, they know that that person would just leave. Now, the answer can't possibly be maybe take a little bit of a hit in your profits to give your customers a good experience by hiring quality, talented people. No, the answer has to be, let's hire anyone who work for this ridiculously low level, and customer service, forget about that. Experience, legacy, reputation, none of that's important. We're still making plenty of money despite that. And then another viewer shares, if you are overqualified, folks, just dumb down your resume. I'm having to do that, and I was advised that a lot of folks are having to do the same. Just don't mention your degrees. You only have to explain your employment history for the last few years. If you only recently graduated, that's a bit more difficult, but you can still say something like, you went to college, but you didn't graduate because you failed in college. Remember, employers want stupid employees. Only declare your degrees where they are most relevant. There you go. These companies don't want the best and the brightest. They want someone who's as dumb as a box of rocks. But let me know what you think of these stories down in the comments below. And if you have some extra time, YouTube thinks you'll get a lot of value out of the video on screen now. And until next time, remember, times are tough, but so are you. Talk to you later.